I want to start with a chant, and I'm being completely vulnerable here because I don't really know how the intonation goes, but I'll read the words, and it's the teacher student chant, and my commitment is to learn how to chant it in the traditional way. But here we go. Om Saha Nava Vatu Saha Na Vanaktu Saha Viryam Karava Vaha Tejavi Navadit Amastu Ma Vid Visavaha. May we all be protected. May we all be nourished. May we work together with great energy. May our study be effective. Let there be no animosity between us. So let's begin on our backs. You can have your blocks handy, strap handy, or your wall space handy. And just allow yourself to feel your whole back body against the floor. You could have the legs spread apart, your arms spread apart like a big X shape. Just feel the strength of your back. So when we open up the front of the body, when we're supple, we want to be supple in the front, in the heart space, the front body. You need the strength of the back body as well. And then bringing your feet, your legs parallel, feet pulled up towards the shins. And then just reach through one heel and the opposite heel. Just begin to move in your hips, the up, slip, down, slip in your hips. You could add the arms overhead, pressing through interlaced fingers, or just reaching the same arm with leg away. Just begin to get a sense of where you are in your body this morning with this slow movement, with tight spots, and take the soles of your feet to the floor, feet really wide, and let the knees move back and forth slowly in a windshield wiper motion. And as you continue this, just moving slowly enough to feel a little bit of a back bend as you let the knees fall over to one side and the opposite low back is arching off the floor. And then just begin to press your elbows. So arms in the goalpost position, pressing elbows into the floor, almost like a little extra leverage. Then we'll come back to center and stack knees over hips. Then bring your arms above your chest, taking opposite elbow with opposite hand. And just let the knees fall in one direction and the arms go in the other direction. Just enough to feel a little engagement in your core. You have to have the core engaged, or the core strong, for opening the heart, both physically and, of course, metaphorically. In our real life, if we're going to open our heart, we need to have a strong center, a strong essence, right? Know who we are, know what we want. Just a few times. And then after you've done 4 or 5 in each direction, drop your arms back to the floor, leave your knees over your hips. And now just let your knees fall all the way to one side, come back up through center, all the way to the other side. You can bring your arms over as well if your back is not quite warmed up for the big twist. So moving back and forth, wide, really open movements here. And great. And then the next time your knees fall over to the right, slowly take your left arm over. So you're in a twist. Now, can you draw the right ribs away from the floor? So knees are to the right. Draw your right rib cage away from the floor as you pull your left rib cage down. And draw your navel in. And feel how that supports the twist. I hope you feel that. And then inhale, top leg up. And again, just back and forth a few times. Big movements back and forth. Nice to take the arms with. And then this time, as your knees land to the left, slide the right arm over. And as you open up, draw the left ribs off the floor, like you're using your side waist there, and try to reach the right ribs down towards the floor. Draw your navel up and in and see if this supports your twist. Head is nice and even. You're just looking up at the ceiling. Inhale your top leg up. And then let's squeeze knees into chest. Cross at the ankles. Just a little rock here. If you can grab your feet, take your feet and squeeze in. If not, just the arms around the knees. But see if you can really allow your whole back body to spread and widen, like butter on warm toast. Great, then release the left leg long and squeeze your right knee in towards your armpit or your chest. You could lift your head here if you wanted to and get a little extra core engagement. Or you can leave your head on the floor, back of your neck long. Even if you lift your head, keep your chin tucked in like you have a double chin so the back of your neck stays long. And then you'll reach the right leg long, squeeze the left leg in. And just honor where you are this morning. There's no contest here. Go back and forth a few times, squeezing one knee into the chest, the other leg long, and hovering off the floor. And then the next time your right knee is into your chest, go ahead and let the left leg rest on the floor and just move through your right hip, taking your right knee around in some circles in both directions. Go into your hip space. And now here, if you had the wall, you're going to use the wall for this, or you're going to use a strap. Bring your right leg out. You could also use a block here, I guess. But I'm resting my right leg against the wall so that I'm getting an opening in my right groin without having to hold my leg. So you could use the strap here, or you could rest your leg against a block. Just feel an opening in the inner leg. Left hip stays down towards the floor. And then if you've got the strap, you'll pull your leg back up to center so it's facing, sole of your foot facing the ceiling, and then come over into to the opposite side. So cross midline with your right leg. So you're in another big twist. Now, same thing. You've got the right leg across midline. Draw your left ribs up away from the floor. Pull your navel in. See how that supports the core, or the twist rather. See how that supports the twist. Now from here, you're going to sweep your right leg down to meet your left leg, prop up onto your left hand, and take your right leg in your right hand in a half bow. So we're on sideline, doing a half of a bow. So you're pulling your right heel back towards your buttocks, stretching the top of the right thigh, and draw the left ribs off the floor. You really feel like you're getting a little bit of a back bend here. And then release that, roll back down to the floor. And if you're against the wall, if you're using wall space, you're going to spin around to the other side. Using the strap won't matter. But now bring the left knee into your chest and circle around your hip. Just opening through the hip, take the knee in both directions. And then open up left leg to the wall space or with your strap or resting on your block. Just so you feel an opening in your left groin without a whole lot of effort of holding your leg in place. So if you can relax your right hip down to the floor. Then you'll reach your sole of your foot towards the ceiling, come across midline. And now draw the right ribs up away from the floor and your navel up and in. See if that supports the twist. So sometimes even these really seemingly passive movements, passive poses, we really want to engage the places that we need to engage to help us support these long holds, more passive holds. And then you'll sweep the left leg to the right, come up onto your right head resting in your right hand. Now see if you can have that arm that's on the floor, your right elbow, instead of having it over towards in front of your face, see if you can line it up with your shoulder. Great. Take your left foot. If it's too much to have the head up, just rest on your outstretched arm. And then take your left foot with your left hand and half bow on this side. And again, you've got some engagement. So the ribs closest to the floor, you're going to draw them up away from the floor and draw the navel up and in. So really, there's always some core engagement in our practice. And we'll release that leg and now just come to your belly. I'm going to turn my orientation just a bit. So come to your belly and bring your forearms parallel to one another, so you're in a sphinx posture. Draw the tailbone down towards your heels. Press your pubic bone into the floor. And draw your ears back, so go over the shoulders. So like you're scrunching up, getting that double chin. And then you can lift out of your core. Great. Now bring your hands together, interlacing your fingers, and slide your knees a little closer to your elbows so that you're in like a puppy pose with the elbows, with the hands clasped. Yeah? Right, slide forward and just line up over your head over your fingers, your hands. And then press back, take your forehead to the floor, stretching through the outside, the outer armpit area, right? You feel that in the outer chest area, upper back, and your hips are up in the air. So then you'll inhale and come forward and just stack your head over your hands. And then you'll press back, forehead to the floor, hips up in the air. And once you go back, you can sort of take hips right and left a few times, and then just vinyasa this. So moving back and forth at your own pace. You might want to go a little faster, or you might want to hang out in either position. Yeah. And the next time you come forward, we'll stay there. So you're forward. It's kind of like modified upward facing dog. So I'm looking right down at my hands. Draw your navel in and draw your tailbone down towards your heels. Ears back, so kind of like a double chin. Okay. And then from here, just release your hands. Bring the palms of your hands to the floor so you can slide yourself up to table. Okay, a couple cat cows here in table. And see if the hips can be the leader here. And then you can go all the way through the spinal column, tucking your chin in last. Then hips lead in the opposite direction. And then head comes up last, but keep the ears pulled back, that double chin sort of action, okay? Do a few rounds just like that. Taking your time to see where your spine, how your spine feels this morning. Keep the back of your neck long when you come into cow. Come to a neutral spine. Turn your toes under here and just rest back on your heels. You can keep your hands forward, but just opening up the soles of the feet. If it feels okay to stack your hips on your heels, you can do that. And then from this position, we'll go ahead and if you need to orient yourself next to the wall, if you have that option, you can do that, or you can just press up into downward facing dog. So pressing up into downward dog. If you have the wall space, take your downward dog, bring your heels up onto the wall. Bend through your knees, tilt your pelvis forward so you get that arch in your back, and then re-extend the legs. If you don't have the wall, just do the same thing with your feet on the floor, flat on the floor. But if you have the wall, heels are on the wall. From this downward dog, then we're going to walk our hands back towards our feet. If you're using the wall, step your feet off of the wall and about 8 inches away, let your sit bones come right to the wall space and take a fold right here. If you're not against the wall, just in the open space, you're just folding. Feet are at least hip distance apart, maybe even wider. And then bend through your legs. If you've got the wall space, you can just slide your butt down the wall and press up to standing. Great. Okay, so I'll show both orientations. If you've got the wall space, bring your right heel right outside of your right foot to the wall. So it's pressing against the wall. And bring your left foot out. So you're coming into warrior 2 legs. Just take a few vinyasa, just vinyasing that front, press into the back leg and bend through the front leg. Really feel the wall space is nice because you really feel your foot against the wall. And pressing your foot against the wall, your back hand, you should be able to have your back hand straight, your back arm straight. So the back arm is straight and the palm of your hand is on the wall. So you might have to scoot your front leg forward. So a lot of us have a kind of a short stance in Warrior Two. So if your stance is too short, when you bend through that front leg, you won't be able to straighten that back arm. So if you were, if you're doing it without the wall space, think about your torso coming straight out of your hips. You could even, I have a door here that I could use, even though my foot's not against anything. My upper body's pretty upright here. So I'm keeping this upright position. And then finally, resting in Warrior Two with the back arm straight, the front arm straight. Back leg really super engaged. Really squeeze muscle to bone. And then flip your front palm, reach forward, and drop your forearm to your front thigh. Now spin your chest open here. Draw your low ribs up and try to spin the ribs on the top, which should be your right ribs. Try to spin those ribs back away and then bring your top arm over. Extended side angle. Keep the ears pulling back over the shoulders so that almost we're really keeping the back of the neck long. Good. Then we'll release the top arm as you turn to the floor. Release your top hand to the floor around the front foot, both hands. Turn the back foot. If you're by the wall, you turn the back foot up so heels are to the wall and you're back in the downward dog. Bend through your knees again and get that anterior tilt of your pelvis. Re-straighten your legs. Now walk your feet up to your hands. Knees bent, so you're in a very relaxed forward fold with the knees bent. And then bend your knees a lot as you press up to standing. And take the other side. So outside the left foot to the wall or at the back of your mat and reach the right foot forward. And think about pressing, even if you don't have wall space, press into the back foot as you bend through the front leg. And you can repeat that a few times. Press into the back foot as you bend through the front leg. Good. If you have the wall space or the door space, you want to set this up so that the back hand, palm of the back hand, is completely against the wall and your back arm is straight. And the forward arm is straight. Now you have this nice upright torso. And keep that engagement, especially if you're using the wall. Really feel the whole outside edge of your back foot against the wall. Flip front palm, reach forward, front forearm down to front thigh. Spin your chest open, draw your low ribs up, 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 up. As you try to spin, now will be the rib cage on the top side is your left rib cage. You're trying to open that rib cage more towards the ceiling. Then top arm up and over. Extended side angle. Keep the back of your neck long. You can even take the top arm to the back of your skull and kind of pull against the back of the skull, really lengthen the back of your neck. Good. Then to come out again, we're going to turn and frame the front foot with our hands and slide that foot back. Coming back to downward dog if you've got the wall. Heels up on the wall. Bend through your knees, anterior tilt of the pelvis, then re-straighten. and you bend your elbows slightly and wrap your triceps down towards the floor. Re-straighten the arms. Good. Now walk hands and feet towards one another. And again, really deep bend in the knees. Been working with a PT person on this whole how to get out, how to be in forward folds in yoga. You know, it might feel okay for you to have your legs pretty straight, but as you come out, bend the knees and press up. So you're using your legs, the strength of your legs to come up. Okay, let's come to the middle of the mat. And we're going to work with Warrior One. Warrior One. Great heart opener. So right foot forward, left foot back. Left foot is offset about 30 degrees. So as you come into this, really, again, press into the back leg, into the back heel as you bend the front knee. And you can vinyasa this a few times just to feel the equal work of back foot, back leg, front leg. And then once you feel steady here, draw your tailbone down towards the floor. Draw your navel up and in, and sweep your arms up. Now, before you lift your gaze, get that double chin. So draw your ears back. So your back of your head, the back of the neck is long. Then you can telescope out of the hips. So like you're lifting your rib basket out of the hips. And you can look up. Keep the back of your neck long. Squeeze the ribs in. Draw the navel in. Then straighten through the front leg. And just tip forward slightly. Bring your hands back behind your back. And either interlace fingers or grab opposite wrist. And just let your arms pull off your back. Do a stretch. It's kind of like a pyramid stretch. Do a hamstring stretch in the front leg. And on your next inhale, press into your back foot, bend your front knee, sweep the arms back up. Virabhadrasana 1. Exhale, bend at the waist, hinge at the waist. Bring the arms behind your back, off your back, and just lean forward. Keep a good engagement in the back foot. Notice if you lose the engagement in your back foot. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, hinge at the waist, come forward. Front leg relatively straight. Inhale, sweep the arms up, bend through the front leg. Notice if you've lost the engagement in the back foot. And then this time, inhale, reach fingertips towards the ceiling. And exhale, hands down around the front foot. Step back to downward facing dog. Bend through your knees. Enter your tilt in the pelvis. Re-straighten legs. And come forward to your knees and into cow. And then exhale, round through your back, drop your hips back towards your heels, child's pose. Inhale, back to cow. Turn your toes under, exhale, press up, downward facing dog. Walk hands and feet towards one another, forward fold. Knees can be bent. And then to come out, really bend the knees and use the strength of your legs to press up. Exhale, hands by your side. And now step the left foot forward, the right foot back. 0-1 on this side. So same thing, we're gonna, as we vinyasa our legs into this, you really wanna keep the engagement in the back leg as we bend through the front leg. You can come back and forth with that a few times. And when you feel like you have a really even engagement in both legs, stay there. Draw your tailbone down towards the floor, navel up and in. And then you can even take your hands to your rib cage. You can try to lift your rib cage out of your hips as you inhale, arms up. So we start the slight back bend here. Options with hands, you could interlace your fingers, press your palms towards the ceiling. Try to keep these low ribs tucked in. And as you lift your gaze, instead of really just tipping your head all the way back, see if you can telescope everything out of the hips. So the ears stay back over the shoulders. There's length in the back of the neck still. And it's a back bend from sacrum up to bottom of the skull. All right, now, after 2 more breaths here, we'll exhale, straighten the front leg, slowly fold forward, hands behind, back. So as we go back and forth in the vinyasa, keep your back bend pretty mild. So inhale, bend through the front leg, press into the back heel, lift arms up. Exhale, straighten front leg, hinge at the waist, hands behind. A few more times there. What we do know is that the too severe of the forward and backward on the spine is actually not very healthy for the spine. The last time you're in this 0-1, now we can hold this. And again, draw the tailbone down. Draw the ears back so that you have sort of a double chin. And feel if you can get this back bend to be from sacrum all the way up to the bottom of the skull. So it's a nice long arch in the back. Draw low ribs in, draw navel up and in. Lift heart, lift your heart. Inhale, the fingertips reach to the ceiling. Exhale, hands down around the front foot. Step back to the downward dog. Take your feet really wide in this dog. Bend through your knees, anterior tilt in the pelvis, re-straighten legs. Bend through the elbows, a couple, an inch, and wrap triceps down towards the floor. You really feel that. And then try to re-straighten your arms. So the eye of the elbows pointing forward more. Strong work in the arms there. From here, inhale to your knees and cow. Keep the back of your neck long still. Exhale, round. Set hips back down to child's pose. Inhale back to cow. Exhale, just set your hips back onto your heels. You can come right back onto the tops of your feet. Find a block or two. Great. And then we'll come standing on knees. Bring your right foot forward. So here, you could have your blocks framing your front foot. You only have one block. Probably could go with it in this orientation just beside your foot. Good. And we'll just come forward. Back knee is on the floor and backwards. times here. Allow yourself to come pretty far forward, but keep your pelvis lifted. So don't completely sag and lose all connection there. Good. And then the next time you're forward, turn your back toes under, press up. So back leg is straight now. Good. And then press your hips up so you're in kind of a pyramid. Back heel is lifted. Come forward. Now you can keep your leg lifted here, or you could take it to the floor. Reach your arms up, opening heart space. So we call this the crescent lunge, right? So back knee could be on the floor, or back leg could be, knee could be lifted. Keep the ears drawing back, tailbone drawing down, low ribs in. Exhale, hands down around the blocks. And with those hands on the blocks, now step back, downward facing dog. Inhale, come to your knees. Come to cow. Keep the back of your neck long. Exhale, tops of the feet to the floor. Hips back. Child's pose. And if you have the two blocks, keep your hands up on the blocks. A little opening in the front pectoral area. And then come up onto your knees. Take your left foot forward. Right foot stays back in your right knee. And again, moving back and forth here. Just vinyasa, this little movement here. Allow yourself to come forward as much as you want, but keep the pelvis lifted. Remember, this side might be different, so as we come to this next little part, you may turn the back toes under and lift that knee, or you might want to keep that knee on the floor as you inhale the arms up. So we're going to work the same actions. Draw the tailbone down, low ribs in, navel in, a double chin. Maybe this side is a little different than the other side, probably so. If you're lifted out in the back leg, think about keeping the back leg straight and lifted. Draw the tailbone down, navel in. Core supports the opening, the front body. Reach fingertips up. Exhale, hands down to the blocks. Step your left foot back. Downward facing dog. Inhale to come knees to the floor and come into the cow. And exhale, round and set your hips back in the child's pose. Take a few breaths in the child's pose. With your hands on the blocks if possible. If that doesn't work in your shoulders, just drop your hands to the floor. On your next inhale, press back up to your knees. Take the blocks and set them out of the way. You come down onto your belly. We'll begin just with the hands stacked one on the other. Turn your toes under here and lift your whole leg off the floor. Whole legs off the floor. So squeeze muscle to bone so your knees are lifted, toes are turned under. Draw your navel up and in, press your pubic bone into the floor. Rest your forehead on your hands. Press your forearms into the floor as you lift. And then release. And lift. And release. I'm going to do that a few times. And then bring your forehead to the floor, arms alongside your body, tops of your feet onto the floor. Press your hands, the back of your hands, press the back of your hands into the floor so that you feel your shoulder tops lifting away from the floor, the head of the humerus lifting away from the floor. Really press firmly here. Press your pubic bone into the floor, tops of the feet into the floor, and just lift your head. Shoulders, obviously. Then raise your palms up towards the ceiling. Keep lifting. Pressing pubic bone into the floor. Navel up and in. Back of the neck is long, so you're just looking right at the front edge of your mat. Good. And then release and take one cheek to the mat. You can rock your hips back and forth. Bend at the knees and rock your feet back and forth. And shift to the other side, turn your other cheek to the floor. Back to center, take your forehead to the floor, tops of the feet to the floor. Start the same way, so press the back of your hands really firmly into the floor. So it feels like you're lifting the head of your humerus. You should lift the head of your humerus away from the floor. Good. And so you're pressing pubic bone into the floor, tops of the feet into the floor, back of the hands into the floor. Then lift your head and shoulders. Raise your hands up towards the ceiling. So your palms are facing the ceiling. Drop your navel up and in. Use the strength of your core to help you lift. Can you open through the collarbones slightly? So turn almost like you're going to turn your palms into face one another. Okay, release. One cheek to the mat. Bend your knees. Taking your feet back and forth, or just your hips back and forth. Side of your head, temple or cheek to the mat. Take a few gentle breaths, relaxing. Feel your heartbeat slow down. Turn in the other direction. Okay, come back to center now. Forehead to the floor, and let's take either the tops of your feet with your hands, ankles, pant legs, whatever is accessible. And if this is not accessible right now, today on your belly, just go to your side and do one at a time. So now lift legs off the floor, lift head and chest in bow. Keep pressing your pubic bone into the floor, and navel is really up and in, so your core is engaged. Keep the back of your neck long here. Height isn't as important as getting that nice, really nice long arch in the spine. Can you pull your shoulder blades together a bit more and feel opening through the collarbones, across the collarbones, the heart space? All right, release. One cheek to the mat. Opposite cheek to the mat. Now, make that little pillow again with your hands. Resting your forehead here. Taking the legs long to stretch through your legs, so kind of a neutral position. Draw your tailbone down towards the floor. So do an anterior tilt with your pelvis, almost like you're going to lift your pubic bone off the floor and then press into the floor with your pubic bone. Hopefully you feel a nice lengthening in your low back. Okay, from here, slide your forearms parallel to one another, Sphinx. Press up, knees under, and slowly work back towards child's pose, slowly. So either knees together, resting hips on heels, or if you want your knees separated a bit more, big toes together, and come right down into child's pose. So now the reflection is, how can I spend this inward time? How can I go inward with an open heart? And my suspicion is that mostly we need that open heart towards ourselves. Kindness, graciousness, self-compassion. On your next inhale, press up to all fours. You just can remain neutral spine here. And then we'll transition right down to the floor now. So sliding forward, coming into a sitting position and onto our backs. Let's see. Orientation here. Let's come into a supported bridge, so block underneath sacrum. Feet about with hip distance apart or wider, soles of the feet onto the floor. Now keep some engagement in your core here. So draw navel in, low ribs in. This can be alongside your body. They could be behind your head, if that feels okay. And there's a little bit more of a back bend action there. If you want to press up into a full bridge, you can do that. So taking the arms into the robot arms to start and pressing into your feet. Think about engaging the hamstrings, so pressing the heels into the floor, maybe even lifting your toes and come off the ground here. You could take the block away or just leave the block there. Feel for an evenness in your hips. So you could move back and forth, a little vinyasa here. Press up and then come back down to the block, or you could stay up or stay on the block. Really important to know what we need, what would be the best thing for our body on this day, at this time. So wherever you are, if you're in a strong bridge, lift it off the block, go ahead and lower back down to the block. And then everybody tuck your chin in like you're getting that, you want that double chin. The back of your neck is really nice and long. Now your on the block, and then we'll just take the block away and roll down really slowly, feeling almost like you're taking the crease out of a tablecloth as you roll down really slowly onto your back. Knees stay bent here. Then from here, just pull your knees into your chest again, Apanasana. Start to take your gaze inward. If there's any other wiggling around you need to do or movement you need to do, go for that. But otherwise, really intentionally, either traditional Shavasana with the legs long. You could go back to your wall space and put your legs up the wall. If you had a piece of furniture that you could put your feet up on, right? You could go for that. And then just imagine a great covering, like if you've camped, when you get into your sleeping bag and you zip it all the way up, or just a really great blanket, a heavy blanket or fold down comforter. Just imagine that covering your body, that you're snuggled up in that full cocooning feeling. Let your breath be easy, your hands soft. This act of going inward allows us to really look at what's important to us, what really matters. Our deepest desires are always perfect, really. When they're non-egoic, when they're more about wanting to be our higher self. It's hard to be honest with it sometimes, but see if you can access even a glimpse of what really matters to you. Continue to soften any place that feels like there's still a holding on. So you're welcome, of course, to stay in your Shavasana as long as you have time for. Remember, it's a sacred practice. You want to give yourself time to feel that sacredness. And if you want to come out, I'm going to stop the recording. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sometimes that is translated as peace to me, and peace to the earth, and peace to all divine forces.